Hello everybody. First of all, excuse the poor light quality and the wind if you hear it. So I didn't even plan on making a video. I just came to the park to get out of my house because I feel like I'm just like swimming in, electromagnetic smog when I'm there, and it's just sad, but it's something I have to deal with right now. So first of all, I wanted to make that video that I said I would make about the negative astral experiences, and I tried to do it. I tried to be more professional. I made a bunch of notes. I wrote a bunch of notes, and then I set up the office to try to be all professional. But then when I went to go do that, it just fell apart, and I felt weird, and it wasn't, my intuition was just saying this is not going to work. This is off. Every single video I've ever made is on the fly and completely intuitive, and those seem to be the best ones, where I spoke from the heart. I wasn't looking at a piece of paper. I wasn't thinking about every single next sentence that I was going to talk about. The ones that just come straight from venting and from the heart seem to work out the best. So I'm going to continue with that formula for now, whether it's with the videos or living my life, just taking the leap of faith and following my heart. So yeah, let's talk about it. I've had so many, I can't even, if I was to quantify, maybe 50 experiences, out-of-body experiences with a negative twist on them, whether it's being assaulted by negative astral entities or straight up raped by them, to be honest with you. And I just want to say right now, I want to put out a disclaimer for anybody that's thinking about doing this kind of stuff. When you begin to activate your light body or expand your aura with chi, you kind of light up like a beacon for these entities. I'm just going to speak from experience. It seems to me, this is the way I've quantified it. I haven't read this anywhere. I don't follow people. I don't read books about this stuff. I go from straight experience, and that honestly leads to a lot of negative experiences for me, because I seem to be flying blind for the most part a lot of the times. You know what I mean? Like, I go out of body and I don't have a location in mind, and I don't do protective rituals a lot of the time, so it seems to get me in a lot of trouble. And that's not a bad thing, really. For some reason, I just feel compelled to just totally do everything on my own, at least for now. That way, when I go read other people's stuff, I can pick, which stuff resonates from my own personal experience. That's the way I justify it anyway. But anyway, it seems to get me in a lot of trouble. And that's not a bad thing to me. I look at my bad experiences as learning experiences. So in that way, they're transmuted into good experiences because they teach me things. And I guess I can be your guys' little guinea pig, for these dark experiences. But I hope at least one of you gets something positive out of this video, even though it's going to be on a dark topic. So I have a couple in mind. Like I said, there's so many, I don't even know how many. Let's start with this. I had one on Friday. I had one on Friday at around 2 p.m. How did it work out? Okay, I went out of body, and the way I did that is the way I often talk about with you guys. I inflate each chakra or energy center, 9 of them. That's the 7 basic ones from root to crown, plus 2 extra, one underneath my root chakra called the Earth Star chakra, and then one above my crown chakra called the Soul Star chakra. And this seems to activate your aura and fully expand its its toroidal shape, and make it so that you can expand or nest into other toruses, which is what toroids seem to be bionomic in our universe, meaning it's what enables consciousness to traverse. It's like a nodal point, so to speak. But so when you activate all 9, you seem to just open up your aura for travel, and you can leave and you can teleport places. And one of the only places I've been going recently is, I like to call, the middle astral realm. But it seems to me from personal experiences that the lower astral realm, the middle astral realm, and then the upper astral realm. I've had all experiences with all three plus higher. So on Friday, I expanded my 9 plasma cones, or my 9 chakras. Don't just expand the chakras in the front of your body, but also remember there's a backside to them. So there's like centripetal cones coming out. One in the front, one in the back, one in the front, one in the back. You have to go through and align them, activate them. There's 9 or 8 on your body that run down your endocrine system in the front. And then there's 8 major ones that run along your spinal column in the back. Okay, so, and in between those centripetal cones, there's a torus. And I like to envision, this is how I activate them. I like to envision a 2-dimensional torus in place of. So like I envision here a vesica Pisces, which is basically if you cut a torus or your aura in half and look at it 2-dimensionally, you'll see a vesica Pisces. Okay, and in the middle there is that almond-shaped vagina, urethra, the shape of your eye, the shape of your mouth. It seems to be a doorway within creation, and it's directly through the center of these toroids. Okay, so next, what you want to do after you expand them all individually is nest them into each other. And what I mean by that is you expand each one of them with your intention and your breath, and enlarge them. And then as you go through each one, you enlarge them and they kind of nest into each other. And this is what I mean by nesting your toroids. So you definitely want to do that if you plan on leaving the body. But like I said, I'm going to put a disclaimer here right now. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be flying blind most of the time. And it's about 60-40. You're going to have a good experience 60% of the time. 40% of the time, you're going to run into some trouble, whether it's a negative lower astral entity or just a scary type experience. So if you're having issues mentally with reality, or you've been diagnosed schizophrenic, you know, if you're just not stable mentally, I would suggest waiting, maybe doing some research, and then maybe just trying to activate the chakras. Don't nest them into each other, because it seems once you nest them into each other, it opens up that doorway through your aura, and you can just exit the body and traverse all the astral realms, and if you're lucky, go through the heart of the star itself, through 5D and higher. So anyway, around 2 p.m. on Friday, I did that whole process. I nested the toroids, and then I was in the middle astral realm. It seems that's where I always start. In the beginning, when I leave the body, I'm blind, and that's what happened. And it lasts for about 10 seconds. And it's like weird. It's like when I'm transitioning from my physical body to my astral body, I'm blind for a short period of time, and then my astral eye opens up and I can see through the middle astral realm. Anyway, I was blind and I was just kind of hovering, waiting to be able to see. Immediately I was captured. What I mean by that is I was paralyzed and I was still blind. And I felt the presence of 2 people, one on each side of me. And what happened was they just kept me paralyzed, but I still felt like I was moving. Honestly, I felt like I was in a craft of some kind with 2 entities. That's what it felt like. They felt like masculine presence. I don't know if they were human. I don't know if they were, men in black, astral entities. I don't know what they were. All I know, and I honestly still don't know if they were service to self entities, or if they were honestly just doing an experimentation. Anyway, this is the messed up part. As it was against my will. That's why I believe that this was malintent involved here with these people. Honestly, some of the worst pain I've ever felt in my life proceeded to happen. It felt like a long, sharp object was inserted into my coccyx region in my lower spine. So in my astral body, there's no bone in your astral body. It's made of higher vibrating light. But still, you can feel pain. This is not the first time I've felt pain. You feel very much sensations and physical feelings in the astral realm. But anyway, it felt like a hardcore pinching sensation. I just went to the dentist and had my tooth yanked out. And you know how when they stick the Novocaine needles in your gums, it pinches really hard? That's what it felt like, but way more so in my lower spine. And this is what happened next. It hurt like hell, and I was struggling. And one of them said something to the other one. I don't know what he said, but the other one I heard say, "Don't worry, he won't remember this." Or he won't remember this. I don't know if it was an auditory sensation that I heard or if it was telepathic. Most likely, because I was in the astral realm, it was most likely telepathic through electronic signals going through the auras. And that seems to be how we communicate in the astral realm. Anyway, I remember him saying that. Don't worry, he won't remember this. And I just kept struggling and struggling. And I kept trying to shoot into my body, but I got what's called astral catalepsy, where I could not get back into my body. If you want to know what that is, look it up. Astral catalepsy. Science calls it sleep paralysis, but us spiritualists know what it really is. It's astral catalepsy. It's when you're having trouble getting back into your body with your astral body. You know how sometimes when you're having a nightmare and you sit up and like scare yourself awake and sit directly up in bed? Well, that happened to me, but it happened to me like a fake out, like 15, 20 times. I kept thinking I was in my physical body and going to sit up and be in 3D, but I was still in my astral body, and it was a fake out. Like, so this was a hardcore astral catalepsy. I was having major problems getting back into my body, and I finally did. And then when I got back into my body, I had noticed that I had the sensation of a Kundalini being triggered down in my coccyx. Like, what I mean by that is normally when my Kundalini is ignited, the Kundalini fire, and is ready to be pushed up my spine and into my pineal gland, or out the top of my crown chakra to create the shield for my aura, instead of feeling like a tingling sensation, it felt kind of painful. And I was like, holy shit, that's fucking crazy, man. So like, it wasn't, this wasn't a subconscious manifestation in the astral realm that I had. I feel like entities literally did abduct me and then do some kind of experimentation on my, my coccyx region through my astral body, and it transferred into my physical body. This is where it gets crazier. Later that night, I was like, fuck it. Well, let's push this sensation up my spine and see what happens. Because like I said, it felt like Kundalini fire, but it was just a little bit painful. Okay, I was laying flat on my back, and I was trying for maybe 5 minutes. I was stone cold awake, but with my eyes closed, just focusing on breathing and intentionally pushing the sensation up my spine. This has happened to me before, but never so stone cold sober. What happened next was I pushed the sensation, this tingly, kind of painful sensation, up through my spine, and once it shot up around the heart chakra center, it got to like a halfway point and then just fucking shot like a bullet through the rest of my cerebral spinal fluid up my spinal column. It hit my third eye, and my consciousness just fucking shot right out the top of my head and out of my body like a bullet out of a gun. So I went from stone cold sober to just shooting straight out of my body and into it seemed like the astral realm on steroids. It was like the DMT realm. I've done DMT before, and it seemed like that. It was just constant fluidic energy moving around everywhere. And I was there, and I kind of panicked, and I tried to shoot back into my body because I wasn't expecting this. It caught me totally off guard. This has happened to me before, but last time, I don't know why it happened. Okay. So honestly, what my intuition is telling me is that some of us are activating here on Earth. What I mean by that is our DNA is mutating. It's starting to spin again. And it's happening to a lot of people on the planet, actually a very select few, a minute percentage, if to be honest with you. And I know for a fact that I'm one of them. I just can't deny it anymore. There's too many things that have happened. So this is like, I believe, the third time that this has happened to me, where I've shot a Kundalini charge that just took off when I'm stone cold sober and my consciousness went into the DMT realm. And I say the word DMT realm loosely. I think it was just some alternate dimension where matter was mutable with mind. And honestly, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, what's happening. I did do a little prayer of protection after it happened. I mean, in all honesty, could you imagine if what I just told you happened to you while you were, say, in public? Because I could have pushed that Kundalini fire up my spine while I was in public. What would have happened then? Okay, it was a good thing I was laying down. So whenever, I guess what I'm trying to say is be cautious when you're doing this kind of stuff. Make sure you're in a safe space. Make sure you're alone. You know, you're comfortable. You're in a good environment, a comfortable environment. And also, like I said, make sure you're mentally healthy enough to be able to handle something like this, to be able to come back into the 3D realm and ground yourself. It's so important. So that was just a really insane experience, and I'm really glad that I got to vent it out with you. It's another one of those experiences that if I hold inside, it can be really toxic for my mental health. I don't have anyone to talk about this stuff with, honestly. I just don't. Nobody understands it. I'm sure some of you out there understand it. Not only do you understand it, but maybe it even can help you out in your life and with your experiences. I have so many other experiences to share. Here's two more if I can remember, if my phone doesn't run out of memory. If the video cuts off abruptly, you'll know my phone ran out of memory. So one time I astral projected and I went into the middle astral realm, and it seemed like I was walking through, like, it looked like New York, but it was dark, and it was really, I just got a really creepy vibe. And I just remember walking through this alleyway, and I stopped in front of this giant, like, skyscraper apartment complex, and the front of it was covered in shadow. I actually made a video about this. It was with that experience with the Men in Black. And I'll tell you what happened. I stopped, I just stared at that shadow in front of the building, and a man walked out, and he was like a fucking robot. Like, what I mean by that is that you just, no emotion whatsoever, cold, dead expression, no eyebrows, had the classic cliche suit on with the little hat, the tie, everything, walked straight up to me, had like gray skin. He walked, I was just frozen, like, looking at him. He walked straight up to me, and he took his two fingers and he jammed them into my chest. And all of a sudden this black goo started emanating and expanding outward. And just like in that scene from The Matrix, if you guys remember when Neo, when they unplug Neo and he listens to the phone, and then that black goo, the shimmery metallic substance, starts coming out and consuming him. Same exact thing, dude. It just started engulfing me, and I freaked out. And at the time I was getting attacked a lot. So I did what I always do, and what I should have did with these two guys on Friday is I called Archangel Michael. Now, I'm not a Christian per se, but I do know what the Christ spark is, and I do know what Christ consciousness is, and I do know that Christ is a title, okay? And it's a consciousness, honestly. And so I do know for a fact that this being, Archangel, I think that they are seraphim, these archangels, and they are protectors of solar systems. There's probably whole sets of archangels all over the galaxy. But anyway, I've been using Michael for protection, and he's manifested and showed up right there on the spot. Shit, I can't even count how many times. But anyway, right when it started getting here and choking me, this goo, and he was just looking at me, I kept calling Archangel Michael, and he appeared in a swath of violet energy, opened up like a vortex, like a doorway. He appeared, and the being immediately just evaporated. And I remember just crying and thanking him, but I couldn't talk to him. I've never been able to talk to him. It's always like telepathic, emotional signals that we can send back and forth, but I just want to pick his brain. That's all I've ever wanted to do, but he never does that. He just saves my ass, acknowledges me, sends me light, or love light, energy, and then he takes off. And I don't expect anything more from him, but so that's what he did. And that was just a really insane experience. If you want to hear more description of that experience, it's in one of my older videos. On the thumbnail will be some Men in Black. Okay, here's a third experience, and that's all I'm going to do because it's almost 20 minutes. I was flying in the lower astral realm. Now, to my understanding, the lower astral realm seems to be hell on Earth. If you think of the planet like an onion. It's layered with different dimensional frequencies, and each frequency is its own little bionomic atmosphere or just dimension and realm. And different entities live on these planes. And like I said, I've been mostly fucking with 3: lower, middle, astral. I know there's probably a plethora of dimensions all in between every single one of those. I don't know about that. I can't quantify those from personal experience. I know I've experienced a shit ton of different realities and realms, but I just don't know for a fact what they're called, you know, and the rules that govern those systems and those, you know, the biological entities that live there. So I just quantify it in an easy way, and that's lower, middle, astral. And the lower astral realm seems to me to be hell on earth, because every time I go there, there are very dark entities, and also it's like a mirrored version of 3D, meaning there's like houses and buildings, and like here I live in Oregon City in Oregon. Every time I go to the lower and middle astral realm and even the upper astral realm, there's a reflection like a mirror of my city in those dimensions. But anyway, and so in the lower astral realm, I was just flying, man. I was flying over this street in this city that looked like Portland, because I live about 10 minutes from Portland. And there was people like rioting in the middle of the street, and buildings were being set on fire. It was like a riot. And so I came down and I hovered right above the people, and I was just watching and going really fast. And these people were trying to jump up and like grab me and pull me down. And some of them were even trying to stab at me with objects. It was insane, dude. And I just hauled ass out of there. And I remember I went into a higher, because this is what also happens. It seems in the lower astral, these beings they seem to not be able to fly. And every time I've been in the lower astral realm and I fly up and above it, I do seem to go to the middle and then the higher astral realm. I've noticed that. It's weird. And especially when I change my emotions. Like the old Hook, the storyline from Hook, where they say, think happy thoughts to fly. It's literally true. Like when I think of gratitude or happiness or bliss, I seem to pass upward in dimensional layers into the higher octaves, or whatever you want to call them. So that's what I did to escape that place. And vice versa. If I'm in a higher dimension and I start to get upset or have a lower vibe come into my consciousness, I will descend into the lower dimensions. And I talked about that in my video, my first 5D experience. I have been to 5D, or the causal or mental plane, whatever you want to call it. I know I have a handful of times. It's very discernible as far as just color and feeling and vibe. It's like a fucking rainbow dimension. It's just, the colors are so much more vibrant, and you can't even really explain them. There's totally different hues that are not here in our electromagnetic spectrum, our visible spectrum anyway. And so if you want to know more about my 5D experience, I've had several since then, but I explain a pretty good experience with a good message on it in my video, my first 5D experience. So yeah, man, that's 3 experiences, one just 2 days ago. And honestly, since then, going back to the Men in Black goo thing, I've actually learned some things since that experience happened about black goo in the spiritual community. It does seem to be tied to negative entities, and it's concerning nanotech. So I do believe that there are good, bad beings and indifferent beings in the middle that are monitoring us here on Earth and Earth's different, astral realms and layers. And they do come in, just like they've been, messing with cattle and animals and stuff. They abduct humans, they extract DNA, they implant DNA. And I honestly don't know if I'm a victim. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, dude. I've had a pretty crazy life, and you know what? It's not going to stop me. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not scared of nothing, man. If everything that happens for a reason, and I do believe I am in Source's hands, God's hands, my my heart's good. That's all that matters. When you have a good heart and you know your intentions are good and you just want to fucking heal and heal other people and be happy, you're not afraid really of being a victim. You're not easily victimized. You know what I mean? I take everything as a lesson to be learned, and those lessons make me stronger. And so that's how I look at it. And this experience Friday, although scary, made me stronger. And now it's going to make you guys stronger because you know about it, and I was able to share this energy with you and get it out of my aura. If I had no one to share that energy with, it would turn into a blockage in my aura and affect me mentally, physically, spiritually, you know, in a plethora of different ways. So I'm happy that I was able to share that energy with you and ground it. And I really appreciate that. And I love you guys, and I just want you to have some gratitude for how far we've come on this journey, and things are majorly amplifying. Big time arrests are being made, you know, political corruption, financial corruption, pedophilia. There are forces of light, and they're working their asses off, and things are happening. I know it doesn't look like it, but things are happening, okay? And you need to be appreciative and have gratitude because you live in an amazing time, and there are billions of entities that are jealous that you're able to be here and they can't, okay? So, all right, thanks for listening to me. I love you guys. Have a great weekend.